bit today. I feel like maybe reading something for inspiration and then just chatting, whatever comes up. This is Seren Bertrand's book. She wrote it all by herself. It's wisdom teachings from the feminine path of magic. And I like it. It's also super kid friendly. It has beautiful vivid pictures. It is for all of the family if you're a spiritual tribe. That might be for you. And then beautiful art illustrations. And I love sitting with it on my balcony, feeling the inspiration flooding in. And like it describes Seren's spiritual path. So that is her book where she describes her way of working with the elements, her way of using moon energy, moon magic. It's not witchy though. It is very folk wisdomful and very knowledgeable, but it's not historical. That is just for the everyday. So like she describes the path of feminine magic with this book, which is a nice, lovely additional view on life for replenishing on a spiritual level in the everyday. That's what I feel with Seren. She's a master of grounded earth goddess magic. Like that's she says she has a long lineage. They always had their traditions and rituals going to honor also the goddess, you know. It is just the more female energies, I would describe that. Because like the Christian God is more masculine, I would definitely say that too. The old religions, they always go with both, but like Christian faith, they only honor one God, and the other ones, they can be holy, you know, honorable, all I think, but like God is just the door. And then there's this little bit different story, but it's just works more with the spiritual ancestry of also feminine path, because there are some, just like Delphi in Greece, they are feminine priestesses of, I don't know exactly, but she has a beautiful folksy way of working with the everyday. That's beautiful. She also has lots of knowledge about womb cult, history, as well as symbolism, but also she lives that very daily. Like she's very grounded in her approach, and like that's what I like, because I'm a Capricorn. I bath in the same frequencies. She reminds me a little bit of my grandma. She was a Catholic woman, but she lived also this very grateful, grounded lifestyle, and that's what I feel with Seren too. So that's why I really like her. And she describes the lunar cycles, little bit of description of priestesses, but from her it's always I feel it's very approachable. It is very artful. It's not it's so understandable and relatable. Like it's always something to prove. Like she's not inventing her story. Like she has yeah, she is very knowledgeable. She's on this path for a long time. She came from design and then went on lots of voyages and then started her spiritual business, and like that's, and this is a good starter point. That's a good starter book, I feel. She describes the lunar cycles, the menstrual cycles, the moon mystic, which is like the invitation to go a little deeper into more of this goddess lore, which is typical British, but she has her own way of working with it. She's very unique in like a very friendly, playful approach, and very amazed by her everyday life experience in a way. And my grandma was like this too. Like she was enlightened in coffee in no way. Like no other person could have ever enjoyed garden and family time just like her. Because I think she feels the blessing of the goddess that comes from it. I feel it too sometimes. I feel like the earth is truly so nourishing, beautiful, loving place. And that's what I feel Seren is very connected to. And that's what she is describing a little bit. She's never telling you're the priestess, you are a holy saint. Or like the high priestess of the earth rule them all. She is just very grounded, knowledgeable, and ritualistic in her lifestyle. And they live on a mountain, they build yurts, you know, that's so exactly what I crave too. Like, I probably decide I'm gonna build a plastic glass bungalow instead of the yurt for meditation and sound bath. Like, somewhere approachable, you know, just for a little while, and then pop up somewhere else maybe. Because yeah, I did decide against the yurt in the end because I want a tiny home on a mountain. I don't wanna have a hut. I'm gonna bring a tiny home, and then it will be there over the summer, and then I'm gonna bring it with me again. And the tiny home can also be a place for like workshop. So also they can rent probably. I think I am open to that because I don't need to crowd the tiny home. You know, it's so cool. Spirit keepers of the womb, water bearers, fire keepers. Like, it's such a good overview. That's what I feel. And she describes feminine mystery discourse because she really knows people who have long lineages with traditional folk art, folk music, folk ritual. And that's so interesting because it's exactly what I prefer too. Something with history, I'd rather study a little bit deeper because I'm also into the history part of everything. just like her, just like her. And her husband too. They're very knowledgeable research people, good people. Then there is like one chapter that says growing our roots, which is so cool. Mother Mountain, and then domestic witchery, creating your nest. Like, it's a full explanatory of her favorite lifestyle and teachings and teachers, books, learnings, you know. And I've never, with her books, I can never follow them through in one, just in one read. I love to just pop them open and whatever topic comes up because they're all super inspirational. They make me feel home and cozy, and I don't know, it reminds me very much of my grandma. They would have liked each other. I think my grandma loved monasteries and churches and people. She loved chatting with the nuns. They knew her. Like, yeah, she loved those. Like, Austria was a little bit smaller after the war still. She loved those. She's a strong woman of all religions and like and family, and loved getting together and chat, and that's very much what Seren also does even in her workshops. Like, you really get to know that woman. She's super chatty and knowledgeable. I don't think she's somebody who constantly checks the clock because, just like me, I think I also heard it from my grandma. If I talk, I can get lost in time, but I also love a little dialogue. Like, I feel better. Like, that's also why I love to just pop the book open and then it talks to me. Today we are gonna read Mother Mountain, where I'm gonna sit on the balcony, I drink a coffee, and it's just a little self-study time. And if I don't want to do meditation, it's still a very nice, soft literature read. And I really like it because today I feel like it because I really needed a little bit because we just lost someone in my family, and I feel like a little bit more grounding. And the book holds me. It holds me a little bit together too because it's like lovely structured. Like this is growing on your roots, and she's a grandmother wisdom, crown blessings. Like that is mostly, she also has lots of British knowledge. So that is the same crown history description, just like in the UK. Then Celtic magic and spirit, birth, song of the feminine Christ, soul fertility, primordial devotion. And then that would be weaving or our healing, then understanding how you can support yourself on your healing path. Yoni temple, feminine archetypes, motherline magic, healing hands, lamentations, the shamanic pathway of grief. I'm not reading that today, for example, because I know I need balance. Like, I probably feel called to this mother mountain top because I live in the mountains, and I probably, that's a beautiful read too. And as she has very pictureful way of writing. Like, I'm very relaxed with it. And I also love her other book, Womb Mysteries. But that is for like more like in-depth study or like deep ceremonial days where I kind of want to connect to the symbolism, to the history, as well as just the inspiration. A little bit reading about it makes me feel good and informed and inspired. And I think a little bit about it. What might it have been? And then I might make a little AI art and imagine it or reimagine it, making it my own story. That is very beautiful. Shadow healing is also witch wound. Like that is so great. Like I know most of those things. I can, like, for example, domestic witchery, like creating your nest. I'm a pro. I'm my grandma's grandma's grandkid. That's what I lived. She lived that. Like she just, yeah, she had a strong nesting because my aunt had Down syndrome, so she had always a lovely, nice little cozy nest for her. And she was strict though, but she was a proper mom for her time. So the rooted power, understanding the feminine spiral paths is super beginner book. And I'm very grateful for that because that's the book that I can recommend if people are interested in this goddess lore, in this feminine path of feeling, even sacred feminine teachings, divine feminine teachings. It's not mostly about it, but she also has that card. For example, she has this one priestess, feminine Christ is something that she describes, and then she also has the archetypal word described, and it just comes from her way of seeing things, you know. It is just feel just chatting a little bit with Seren in a workshop, and you can just quickly 10 minutes, 15 minutes, read about it, and then yeah, you're in a better mood. You did your little study. You're inspired. I have a ritual from her that I started last year when I had this terrible surgery coming and was very scared. And then I found this in the book because yeah, I just look up my beautiful spiritual books for inspiration and a little better move and upward spiral movement emotionally, you know, there is described in spiraling motion. And I just found a little ritual. Just she says if you put a little purse and then you put in whatever is too much for you to hold, and I just put in illness. For example, now this year I have like sexist, chauvinist behavior because I see that rising in the society. That's very scary, and I feel better if I put it away, and then the purse holds that for me, and I give it to the purse, to the earth, the responsibility a little bit to the goddess magic. Like I don't 100% have a fixed opinion about anything. It's just something that I feel resonates, and it just feels like the reporting something I've heard in school that was too much to me, to my mom, and then giving it to the adult. It gives a little bit of ancestral magic that I'm probably using with it. And then it just stayed in a purse. And then in the end of the year, I felt like if I want to let go of the baggage. So because it had 1 year in the purse, and then I felt that it did shift, and I was ready to let it go in a way. Like yeah, just giving it out of my hand and not feeling like I need to solve it was a blessing. And that's what I'm doing this year again. And at the end of the year I will be burning the things, and then next year see whatever comes up. So I have other routines. So it's not the only thing that I'm doing for spiritual hygiene. But this is like for whatever is very hard to hold or just too much, giving it into the purse and honoring and trusting that it will be taken care of and continuing on my everyday. It does stop my thought patterns because yeah, I learned to do that. I really learned it. And that's just it was just at the end of one chapter. That's why I just love popping up the book. And then there is advice, and then I see whatever is resonating, and that is a really cool beginner book. And she even covers Baba Yaga. That is a very favorite figure in Europe. Like I think most people from the 80s, kids, people that were kids in the 80s, and I love those Baba Yaga most because they've been everywhere at the time. And the Dark Night of the Womb, which is super interesting. Hallows Eve, or Samhain as it is also known, has always been a magical time of year. When I was a child, the possibility of witches flying the starlit sky was utterly wondrous to me. To me too. I loved the messy home because I always needed a neat room. And then I spiritually bypassed by imagining how the funny chaos witches live freely. And then on full moon they dance and they party, and I was like, I want to do that too. In my native pagan North England, there was always the scent of the sacred in the air at night, as we donned our pointy black hats and, carrying our candlelit carved lanterns, traveled door to door, singing and playing music of magic and mystery. The magic of the sacred eve never diminishes, and now this pivotal time in the calendar feels even more evocative, knowing as we do that it was once the Celtic New Year, representing the final turn of the seasonal wheel, descending us into the dark room of the Great Mother to prepare for the rebirth of light in the coming months. It is the time we winter ourselves to renew. So if you kind of are new to this concept of working with goddess lore or feminine path, there are great books, like just in the back. The Heart of the Great Mother. That is a book she used and quoted. That she advises to, by Christine R. Page, MD, for example. Spiritual initiation, creativity, and rebirth. Like everybody that's Seren is advising, they have very profound historical proof. Background, and like her husband Ezra Bertrand, he was a doctor. He's very, very intelligent, and he also works with the bioenergetical fields, and he brings spiritual lessons beautifully into the explanatory field, which I, for example, struggle with a little bit. Like I rather also would, just like she also we both already had strong ancestors, so we in that bubble of being held by the feminine, and we crave that because we both probably grew up around those people. And there is I did it was in the end, it was a 4-hour workshop about grief, but I think it was just supposed to be 2 or 3. I don't know. She started. He was like, I have a PowerPoint, and it became too long, and I was like, oh, that's so relatable. I have the same problem when I'm trying to write projects or essays. Like it's always getting too long too. And then yeah, he told us about like keening workshops and all of this. I wrote that down. And I have them, some of those people in my newsletter. I found some of them online. I could have never found them. Like, if you are not part of the crowd, if you don't work You don't find those people because it's so rare to find. There are not many keening workshops like that. If yeah, you can find a few, probably one or two, but it's lovely to get the check-in and the invites. Sometimes they have courses on demand too, and it's just I really love joining musical workshops, especially right now, because I really feel like there is lots to learn, and especially about healing song. I probably would not have fun with like classical voice training because I don't want it. I just leave my voice be like it is as it is, and like I don't need a fancy kind of voice. And um, I'm happy with the way my voice is in because I don't want to inspire people for perfectionism. I want to see them express and use the techniques, and then yeah, howl if they want to too. That I have sound healer meditation that they have no good voice. They have no, but I have the deepest resonance because they sing their heart out, and they sing very like even unharmonious. No, it's like I don't love to do that. I kind of like I always I'm mostly like I'm like chanting in like Om style. I feel like with pure sound. But I did a light language course and extra to improvise um, and um, and then with the inspiration of the pure light sound or like cosmic inspiration or whatever, just also yeah, just a little away from the lineage sounds, like for the specific chakra sounds, and then I wanna obviously use them if I feel inspired for like throat chakra, or like so people know and they can use it. So that if I wanna be free in a sound healing one-on-one, for example, I feel like I would be probably bringing that in, and I needed to reconnect to these light code teachings because there are a few little helpers and techniques because I forgot about it again. But then I had real joy and fun. Because we had a course. She had us join with like she was so creative with energy fields or like it's a little bit of archetypal but also fun fantasy style, expressing like fairy. What would fairies be in light codes? And then everybody does that in their own home on Zoom. And then you can also write it on a paper. And then you just learn to let the inspiration flow. And then I learned Venus light language. Um, Exercise. And then I always feel very connected to the celestial womb. So if you want to learn more about it, there are also books that describe that. But I have a hard time explaining it because for me that has come naturally. I feel helped by the earth womb. Like for me that was just the planet, the earth, the nature that I do honor and that I live connected with. Like I am somebody who naturally grounds. And if I'm not grounded, I feel it. And then, yeah, I need to go for a long walk or like that's also me time that I find very grounding. Other people, they find talking more grounding, but I get lost in my mind sometimes. It does help me center back. Yeah, that's actually very beautiful work, especially for women who were not well mothered, you know. That is actually there to support you in your life as a grown-up too. This lore, this ritual, the purse that holds the illness for me that I cannot hold, And then just at the end of the year, oh, we can take care of it. I burn it. I feel better. I felt the grown up again. And then for a little while, I just gave in to the overwhelm because I could not hold it. I could not. Even though I tried, but I could not. And like there is something else I find interesting, like healing journeys with the Black Madonna, chants, music, and sacred practices of the great goddess. Because that's music again. And always, Seren always has mentioned music as in like she in a workshop and in her books and all of that. I think it's great always for resources too. She's very knowledgeable, and Ezra too. And he does the biomantic knowledge. He creates his own. It's also kind of mysterious too. Mystery is cool because he is definitely looking deep into the mystery as well as the history. And if you are someone who likes studying and you're done with the, like just like me, you found most of the usual lineages like mindfulness, yoga, Buddhism, Zen is something that I want to do. I feel this with my crone phase, you know, with the women, the Celtic say Maid and Mother Crone. That's definitely 3 archetypal roles that women go through in life, and Crone Obvious is the last. And like when I'm old, I feel like I might wanna bring a little bit more Zen, serious, very groundedness and awareness into my everyday life, because I think I might like that. And my grandpa was a very calm person. He did not have a meditation practice, but he was like peaceful, restful in the everyday. Yeah, he was Catholic, so he did have faith though. So and yeah, this just is so relatable, and I sometimes I feel like I also wanted to celebrate Halloween if I read it. And also I feel like that she's really been an imaginary bubble in her life a lot, which is called like this creative bubble. They have a name in the British Isle. It's not the Arwen, because the Arwen is the other word. There is like a name. I mean, is it a Welsh name? I don't remember. Like that's why I need books. I don't want to learn vocabulary with this. Like if it comes up for me and if I resonate, just like with the Chris, there's so much to learn always. And probably in 10 years I might be fluid in this kind of tradition too. But right now I'm like, no. I just want to feel it, I want to experience it, and want to have fun with it. Famously, Baba Yaga gave the gift of feminine magic to Vasilisa the Brave, the young maiden part of ourselves who receives power from initiation. One of the magic tools Vasilisa has is a spirit doll gifted to her by her mother. This magic doll represents the soul of her maternal lineage, which she must feed and nourish as she grows up, so that the lineage can assist her. Baba Yaga tests Vasilisa so she can earn the fire of the cauldron, the primal anima, the Shakti, the wild Arwen, the dragon power that transforms a girl into a woman. When Vasilisa completes her initiation, dragon power can also be related to Shakti power, like this life force energy also. It's not like you obviously work with the dragon as a symbol, but the dragon and the Shakti, they are very connected power centers, like primordial big energy. For me, that's how I understand it. That's also why I need book. When Vasilisa completes her initiation successfully, the witch in the woods asks the young girl how she pulled it off, and she replies, by my mother's blessing. She said, Seren says, I believe this Russian fairy tale encodes an old knowledge of feminine magic, where a young girl experiences a sacred rite of passage to claim her womanhood, facilitated by a female elder. That's also what I like to do. I always love to make the stories a little bit more my own, because they're so old and their meaning might actually shift. And also it is very interesting how books and music, they change over time. Like if I read my favorite books when I was a teenager, I might hear another opinion, or even lesson coming from it, because it was not spiritual books. I wasn't looking for lessons. I was just studying what was important to me. And yeah. And sorry guys, my foot is a little bit, my ankle is still a little bit hurting. And I just, today, my foot fell off the pillow. And then it was not a little bit high up. And so I really feel it. And my swollenness, I feel it more. So I need to have it up here. But it's good. It's good. It's the left foot. Which also makes me a little bit more tired when it's aching. I get a little bit, oh, I feel like resting deeper. But yeah, I just wanted a little bit inspiration, and then also I like using this book. I'm probably gonna take it with me and just, just like I sometimes love drawing an oracle card or two in the morning when I need inspiration. I love taking these books that inspire me, like a lot of Seren books. I have 3 of them, and the other ones, they're so big. I've not read all of it yet. And now also like Christian Northrup, she also has a book that is called Body Wisdom, and is also very inspirational and very lots about actual feminine body and connection, emotional work, as well as lifestyle, as well as the difference from women in the medical field. And so that was a book that I had on my little living room table too, for inspiration. I just work with it to understand a little deeper, and still, like, yeah, if I feel like I want to understand something, I'm looking back at it. And it is very nice description of cycle wisdom, as well as also what I like is like she's not standing for hormonal fertility care. And I too am not a big fan of adding more chemicals to your everyday life. So I've never taken the pill. Not because of just one book, but also because I feel super unbalanced. I have weird severe trauma too. Like I really want to feel grounded. I don't want to get lost in my emotions, and I don't want to get lost in trauma or whatever. And I want to be regulated and find my calm, because that's what I am actually, kind of calm person and grounded, just a little bit like my grandpa. And and yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's a very mild summer day today. And the wind is so beautifully floating around the house and the leaves and the trees and all. A little bit blowing the grief away from me. That's lovely. I feel that, I've listened to so many meditations. I can just sit here and then in my head hear the meditation teacher that the wind is coming and it blows the emotions that you want to let go of in the air, and then it lets go, just as like the leaves in autumn. And then, ooh, it's better, it's gone. And then maybe in the evening I feel like, ooh, it came back again. Yeah. That is life. Something that I've learned in my life. Ooh, did I feel a little bit old, honestly? Is be patient with emotional processes and be very careful and motherly for myself around trauma and trauma work. Just the more slow with trauma work, the better. And if you want to create art that uplifts you, that would be a quick shift. But I also feel like in therapy phases, I had a harder time meditating, but I could feel that in nature. And my therapist told me to go into like all of them. My psychologist too told me go into nature, connect. That's a big resource. You should really use that in your everyday. And then I did. Like it does help if people call you out and they remind you. But it's also good that you have those in your brain. Like if I feel ungrounded, I know, oh, let's go into nature. If I'm grieving, I hear Seren mentioning Keening song, and I have a playlist on YouTube and Spotify that I made because I really love the songs. They are so kind of Irish, Scottish, and also they are all Gaelic. Many of them are Gaelic, and I love their language. So beautiful and old. And I want to learn the harp, and I have a little Celtic harp book. So I could also play a little bit, but I've not learned playing the harp yet. I'm certainly not going to learn today. And yeah, it does really help having resonating leaders in healing, with healing subjects. But also it is cool to Google. Like I Googled all of the Celtic festivals of the year because I really wanted to understand, and I really wanted to understand how to work with the earth and the seasons better, or in this gratitude practice way. That's what I feel with it. It has lots to do with gratitude for the year, for the nature, connection to the land. Then the old mystery that held the Britons together over all of these hundreds of years. And the Alps, we also have stories, like old folk stories. They're not so much lived anymore because we lived with the Catholic Church. That was not so helpful, and also the church was not so appreciative of those kind of more nature religious traditions, even though like the church also preserved healing wisdom. But yeah, but in the Celtic East there has not been this strong church influence, so people stay true to this kind of stories, and they work beautifully with like earth magic, and that's what Seren is all about too. She lives in the mountains. She holds workshops. I think she also has an herb garden. She mentioned that a little bit, how like the herbs does do uplift her, and I feel the same. I tried a little bit, and I feel the same with like oils and scents. With there are sacred oils. They have also grievances and all, and yeah. And I find those very uplifting. I also find like herbs uplifting, honestly. And she is definitely a teacher that I like, but she is rarely showing up online. But what I recommend is like all of her books, and obviously follow her newsletters, follow her husbands too, because they are connected. He is also very knowledgeable. He knows everything about the feminine path. I know both they cannot be booked for one-on-ones. There do lots of courses, especially online. There is like a 12-month, 9-month program for this biomancy school. Biomancy works lots with there is like biological and geological knowledge interwoven into the energy field, and then also he does go into the mystery of the sacred historical part as well as the ritualistic, and then definitely also a little bit of esoteric interpretation, I feel. That is a mix that I like. But I am not so much into studying this long, honestly. I love having themes for the month. Like I feel better joining a short course and not so committing to the, because this is what I love with this feminine path of the spiritual way, is fluid, is easy, is also huge variety. What I feel, for me, that is so true. So many tools you can use in the everyday. And then um, just yeah, I also feel like it is because of the trauma that I hold. I love working with the everyday practice field, so I'm not so much right now into studying the biomantic field of the earth, even though I understand bits of it. But I could buy a book, maybe one day, because it's very inspirational and also very grounding and very grounding, connected. Ezra is a great teacher too, but he has, I don't think he covers all of the lessons. He has helpers, he has the other, they are specialized sometimes, people hop in and off, and like Ezra is so knowledgeable in this like free events that I sometimes chant for the solstices and equinoxes, because I find a little bit bored with the Celtic wheel of the year online celebration, because they always seem just the same. And I was still this biomantic background, and I felt very amazed by. Just yeah. And then he always covers the old temples, the stone temples, like for example in Ireland in Cairn, that's for equinox. I don't 100% know, but there are like these stone temples that where the light falls through one point in the whole of a stone at solstice or equinox, and then just then historical part of the nature ridge and how they honored that, how they had this womb style temples that they probably used ritualistically to hold the people in there. Like, yeah, probably could be Stone Age actually. And isn't that so beautiful that they just built those stones? They knew where life would stand in at the time, and every year they probably would crowd together and get together and celebrate. Especially, I'm assuming in summer might be very favorite harvest style family ritual event, and that I so lovely to think that I felt held by the sun and also the earth with them, because they obviously go together. And yeah, it does hold me too. I don't feel like I want to go to Cairn or Stonehenge, also one place of this probably ritualistic celebrations, because you never know with those kind of things. You just, yeah, people are assuming, historians are assuming so, but definitely connected. But actually, you don't know. It could have been a palace. Maybe the people like to live in those. Because this one in Cairn, it does kind of look like a palace. So I make up a little bit my own story. But I'm mostly assuming it was a stone temple. Because, yeah, that's what most nature religions show, that they built the temples. Also, if it was raining, it was probably nice. And like shamans have a very long history. There are lots of proof of shamanistic priest. Like that is, I think it for me is the same role in most um, old paths. Is like the same hierarchy, and also for most old folks, it is spiritual that does not go with the actual leader. Like, yeah, the leader of the tribe was not the one for the spiritual, because the spiritual care, what I understand, is not about you persevering life, but helping you persevere. That is full different leadership position or style, you know? Like, for example, the Pope, just that is a spiritual figure that most people nowadays know. He talks about world peace, make world peace in the press. And a political leader or leader of a nation or whatever, they would probably think, oh my goodness, world peace. I have no peace in the city. They are constantly fighting. There are constant street wars going on, whatever. And like, he has a different role. Like, he needs to be very embodied, very aware of the current situation. He is not so much necessarily responsible for the spiritual or the aspirational part of it. And so, like in many cultures, this has been strictly separated. For example, in the pyramids and the Egyptians, they had the son of God. They were called like the priest and the high priest. They would not rule a country. That was a necessary role, and also there was probably training for them, because they were very knowledgeable. They had full libraries that the Romans burned. So those are separate positions, you know. And that's what I like with it too. I feel there is no responsibility. I'm a healthcare and social manager. I studied all of these people who urgently need help a lot. And I find help with this spiritual path and spiritual way of seeing things. And I feel like I can breathe, because I can just give all of this responsibility to the earth and, you know, rest deeply and honor the earth, the planet that I live on, the sun that guides us through the years. And understand how held I am also. Your stone temple would be everlasting, probably quite long. To this day, many exist. I don't think it's all of them. I don't think it's all of them. Especially in Europe, there are a few megalithic finds, but mostly assumable is that they just stick to caves, because that's also held. It's also ancient. I don't know how they did that, but there could have been bears or other wild creatures lived there. So I'm assuming that they might have had an eye on this more sacred caves, because there are in Slovenia, just a little bit away from me, there are 4 or 5 connected caves that were created before Roman times, so really long before Jesus. And they were all honoring the sun, and they create this star. I think what I remember, because it's quite a little bit ago that I found it. And the church has now churches around this cave to work with the energy centers, because that's also what they did. People already love to go there, and they just put on churches there for ceremony again. And I think the churches were already connected, and on the, you know, from the heavens, you could see them form a star. They are connected in a star with the symbol of a star, but also probably you could connect it, and then it would be hexagon or whatever. So, but they have like several caves in that area, and maybe that went with the seasons or whatever. I don't know. I was interested in going to one of those caves, and then the lockdown locked all of us in, and then I forgot about it again. But I just thought I want to meditate over there. I want to know the energy because I live close to Slovenia, so it's just a little drive on a weekend. I don't need to fly over to the Cairn, island or whatever. Cairn there, I don't know. And or Stonehenge, because Stonehenge is very crowded, like always. It's not a nice place to meditate with. And like Glastonbury is also crowded, but I think it is less crowded sometimes because the multi-tourism bringer is Stonehenge. It's not so much Glastonbury tour, because people really like this symbol and the circle, and this also very old, and nobody really knows who put those stones from where over there. Probably they just shipped it, or because boats are also found in Korea. People always think that old humans, they were stupid, but they certainly were not. They learned to hunt, they learned to make fire, they learned to build huts, they made their own little they weren't stupid, they were just starting, that's our ancestry. We are the ones who saw the harvest like every day. They started learning, they grew, they taught each other, they learned to survive in nature, they built their huts, and now we have like electricity and we're warm all year round. And it started with them. And why would they be stupid just because they started? Like biology, they see that the brain is growing. But is it really growing? Like, is it really growing? Or from what time to which time? I don't feel it. For me, I have the feeling, if I read about it and connect to the historical part of it, not so much the movies, but that's also fun. I feel like they were very clever. And then they created this life that was a little bit more complicated, where they needed to build like little stone helpers for cutting open meat, bones, as well as maybe coconuts or whatever, because I don't believe that the people, because we had long ice age in Europe, I don't think the oldest people come from Europe. So they've already known how to live with the land and more safely with the land. And then I believe that people must have loved the British Isles, because it is a small part. And it's just, yeah. It's big enough to get lost and don't think you're on an island. But still, if there are wild creatures, it might have been easier to get rid of them. Like, yeah. I think, yeah. I believe that British Isle would be a place where like people could have lived for a long time before other tribes found them, probably. And what I also like with the British law, that it still honors like ancient Irish tribe that was not Celtic. The Celtic preserved the knowledge about the what's that called? What is the tribe? Dua de Danann. They were supposed to be non-Celtic ancestry, and they always tell their stories, and there are gods and goddesses like Danu, like that is like, yeah. It's not so complicated. The Celtic gods, it was not very overcrowded, I feel, on the island with gods. They just stick to most of them, because it was, yeah, mostly one tribe, I feel, with the Celtics. And then it seems they kept honoring the gods and the ancestors of tribe that they found on the isles, which I think could be so true, because they just, when like the Romans overtook, for example, Noricum, it's like Austrian, Corinthian area, they just started honoring the Roman gods. And they keep practicing whatever they were told, because it might have been in their population, it might have been easy to get to know new spiritual practice, new spiritual leadership, and like merge with that, because what all of those, like the Romans, they merged lots with other cultures too, and the Celtic, they just did that effortlessly in the Austrian field, because they already had lots of business coming and going. And then eventually the Romans wanted the land to rule all of Europe and Asia. I have no idea what those people ever thought, because that is crazy. However, the Celtics, they were a tribe that I understand. I will never get those empire people, because that would be so stressful. But okay. And yeah, I think they just have a practice of interweaving with the local folk easily, and then include all of it in one, because to this day we know plenty of Celtic gods. You can find honoring old Celtic. There are Celtic gods who survive with the church. A few of them got lost, others were so popular they just continued. Like in Austria, we like to say that all of the Celtic wisdom got lost, but for me, it just stopped. The Celtic rite stopped the evolution, and with the British eyes, I feel like it just went very slowly and snaily with times. Kind of did not move a lot. And I feel like what people feel mostly with the Celtic rituals in the British Isles, because it was not Catholic, and so there was no interference with very severe spiritual rules. That was not normal for them. Never. It's also very true with like northerners. Like the North mythology is also not abruptly stopped, and it has an evolution, but it works with the old mythology most. Whereas with the Celtic ritual, I feel like it is deeply interwoven into studying the everyday on like earth-based rituals. Where like for example biomancy would be another step that would just not be Celtic, but also it does deeply observe on with a faith connected energetic level. What is this life? In a non-biblical way, just with the elements, with the history, with the analytic as well as the interpretation, and like that is like on the Celtic Isles, it is definitely an invitation. There is not a guide or druid or whoever guides you through life, but there's still like books, and there are druid circles that love to connect to this wisdom and honor it and celebrate it, and also find this powerfulness in their own spiritual path, which you can find to this day. And it was never forbidden over there. And like for example, Christianity and Celtic, they have a little bit more of interweaving history, but I also feel like the Celtic, they do deep shadow work, and they honor like the Cailleach. See, this is an old Irish goddess. She would be honored for things that would never be Christian. So I think they don't really harmonize. But I don't see them killing each other for different views. I just find them more ignorant. And like whereas in Middle Europe there was lots of blood around church and Um, Sadly so, because I hate that people would die for faith, and it was obviously also for control as well as making your own faith more safe. So, but that is so long ago. Um, it's very interesting how like the spiritual Celtic lore perceived in so many stories. And for us, that's also a little bit true, but especially in the last 100 years, it has been so outdated. Like we have fairy tales, they are a little bit of a spiritual moral guidance early, like not the Disney movies, but like the actual old fairy tale books that you can still buy and that are just sometimes reinterpreted, but they just have this way how it is, for example, told in Austria, and then might shift probably, but the same stories can sometimes be found in Russia. So it's just really old children's stories that guide them and explain life a little bit. And it's obviously outdated with this modern technical way of living, I feel. Um, but like I always loved those old stories. And I also love old mythical stories, and I love the Greek stories. Like I've not read them, all of them, and certainly not in the old way, because yeah, they are much for me. Like wow, those people, but like they had no electricity, they lived in a wilderness, they persevered, and nobody really knows where the inspiration for all those gods and goddesses actually comes from. So um as someone who comes from Christian Catholic faith, um, we do believe that Jesus was alive. Like many people believe that, or like Saint Barbara, that she was alive, that she was a model in life, a role model in life. That she that or like Saint Nicholas, the one who is the inspiration for Santa Claus and comes on the 6th of December with gifts for the good children and coal for the bad ones. Like probably he himself would be not for it. Those are all that is, for example, an old Christian saint that many people know. He gave to the poor and tried to help also women, which I find so beautiful that people did that, because I lived in a very suppressed nation where womanhood was not honored, but motherhood was. And yeah, not you don't always have the energy to mother, but um, and also from as somebody who lives in 2026, I also obviously know about the witch hunts. And that is a terrible story to hear. I just learned about it in school because as a kid I also loved these beautiful witchy stories about these wild women and how they want to live and do they live, and then also flying on their broom and all, and living with chaos and little magical kittens and all. I loved those stories a lot, not only for Halloween but also. And then later I heard that they slaughtered in school so many women for healing wisdom, as well as very much bad stuff going on in the country. Just the mere fact that especially women got slaughtered and not so many men was like, yeah, so true. What is damn society? Like, it's not funny, but like, yeah, that's what I feel like. Women are always more shamed for their guiltiness, for their their criminality than men. Because the woman needs to be the good person everywhere. Like, because men don't want to do this, and like kind of in one ancestral connection or whatever, whenever that happened, they decided because the women birth the children, they need to be the nice, safe one, and they skip it. They do whatever they want because men created so much war and bloodliness and terrible slaughter in this history of people of Earth, of humans, that definitely is connected to manhood. Yeah, that I think is so ugly that there was a time where, like, especially in with poor people, it seemed this escalated constantly, and like the harvest, they destroyed each other's life, and then especially women were burned and drowned and hunted, also for holding wisdom, you know. And then there was the Dark Ages, and then yeah. To this day, I'm not sure if humans really remember what a human is. That's how much manipulation goes into education, for example. We need to be very critical and self-aware to not get drowned in manipulative, destructive, and poisonous programming. Like, as somebody who practices yoga all his life long, I really know what I'm talking about. You kind of feel the shift with every breath. You don't drown in the sorrow, you don't drown in the negativity. You start to overcome it, and that's actually a really easy teaching. And people are not guided, they are just manipulated in whatever way or form their family wants it, their crowd wants it, their political parties manipulate like hell. Also, journalism is very propaganda, and then there are some companies who have you in a bubble of thought and belief system that is so ugly, terrible, and sometimes is against human law. Like, yeah. I'm coming from big thinkers, so it's quite normal in my family that people are very opinionated. My opinion is that people are not free. They are not free. They think they are free, but like the greed owns them. The anger owns them. The frustration owns them. And the revenge, that is deep. Revenge is a deep pattern in history, I think. So, yeah. I feel like more and more since the lockdown that the human race does not look so much like the humans that they were supposed to, because lockdown were brutal anxiety mass programming, and I don't sometimes feel like people are the same. They are deep in their shadows, where when the people who never used their shadow parts, they suddenly seem to be drowning in them. And I'm just not having it. I'm just normally reacting. I for example, somebody who lived from boundaries. Like, I really hate people who don't honor me. I'm a good, faithful person, and I want to be treated as a good person. You're not abusing me. You're not shaming me. You're also not sexualizing me, because I am a human. I'm not a gender. And I see that less and less, that people normally find that as just one answer. They feel that this is rude, that boundaries are impossible. My own decisions in my life for myself want to be made by strangers. That's what I feel more and more and more. And I'm not having it. I'm not participating. I feel disgusted by this kind of behavior, because I'm somebody who does not interfere with your faith or with your belief system. I am not pushing you into new thought patterns. I am, as if I think people might be interested in that, I come up with a book. And if I think there is something that I understood about their path, I'm trying to give them a little input and push them a little into that direction. But that's it. And is the absolute way how you make me easily leave. By, being rude and not accepting my no. Also, as a single woman, that is necessary for me every day. Like, I'm not gonna have the security of my husband, because, I stand for myself. and that cannot be problematic by the state of your society. So I know it is a malignancy that comes from programming that I don't understand and that I don't participate in. So I really feel like leaving this country and this nation for good, and then just finding my own way of living in another area, because I've seen enough in the last year. For example, in my country, there was a crisis that was silent but not unnoticed, and it is a political one, because the program is destroying social behavior and community. Whatever was once community, especially between my grandparents' generation, they really found community with each other, and I know my parents did not, and I only did with a few very safe people, and I've never created it myself except in a yoga group where we sat and were grounded and chatted a little bit, because yeah, it's just part to a little bit connect sometimes. And then yeah, don't feel very connected to those people that I live with, because they conform to their own mind and program if they want to, but I won't. So obviously I know good people, and that is the community that I love, and everything else I feel is more and more destroyed by a very greedy society that never ever thought about how do they build nations, how do they sustain healthcare for all, how do they pay whatever they made in debt throughout the lockdown. Don't even ask me what I have to say about the vaccination that they threw out after 2 months for COVID. That's testing phase from under a year, so that, and then they tried to make this new chemical stuff untested, nearly untested, mandatory for many people. Few countries did that. That's, who is that? That is against what I studied. That is against every single degree that I've ever thought about, and that people say, like, that is against uni knowledge. They do that in masses. Like, those are not leaders. Those are programmed assholes. All of them alcoholic. I'm so shook to my core from noticing how they stopped working for the current knowledge base and started working for power base, which in a democracy is a little bit problematic. My country even pays millions every year to not implement EU-owned standards. Whereas at the same time, EU sues multiple dollar businesses for amounts of money that are unreal because of law that is not even implementable for American companies, for example. And I don't understand the lawsuit anymore, even though I'm very knowledgeable. They just believe people are stupid. So I don't see that this is mind. This is power. This is not about solving or making something work or shit. This is just to stand in more power. And like, what I feel like is not a single strategy. It's like every little person and personnel, they do whatever they please, because yeah, since that is, they don't bring you favoritism. Because they failed so badly. They had no crisis management. They just threw money around in directions. And as somebody who studied public management and social management and healthcare, exactly, I would have known what to do. And I was like, with those parties in power, this is gonna end not well, and this will be terrible and very expensive, and then it got even worse than I expected. And now I just see how this year or 2 years and how they extended the lockdowns. Like other countries, they've already been all out of the lockdowns, they just kept going. Suppressive system. How this is to this day destroying the social system that this nation is after Nazis, you know. It's not so very fun. These people still have ancestral war wounding, and they let us know. I really want to leave this nation the first time in my life. I really just, I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna live in a city and it will be so, but I'm at the point where I cannot see those politicians anymore. I don't want to fix anything for them, so I completely swap my outlook in career plans. Because as a social manager, I do obviously work with ministries and mindsets and structures and mostly EU stuff. And I don't want to do either of it because I don't see a government anymore. I just see egos, and I'm a yogi. So you're not supposed to be ruled by your ego on this kind of level because, yeah, normally your private life feeling is enough to make you not votable. Yeah, I'm super cringing inside. Like, I cannot even look at the news anymore. For me, those people are so stupid, and they are in open war against each other, party after party after party, and it does destroy the quality of the news. They insist on institutions that just bring more debt. They don't probably properly try to fund the nation. They just do anything because none of them ever thinks about all of the whole anymore, which was once very normal. And there's so many other countries that are very beautiful, and I don't need to sit on the land of my ancestors and feel like I'm ashamed for every day that I have this passport. Yeah, I see my future probably more in the UK because I felt most alive in my life in the UK. I've been to many European countries, so we own houses here, but I don't right now. So I not only swap career, I will also be swapping country, and I'm very excited actually. And I've not seen that coming. Honestly, when I was 20 and decided for my life, I've not seen it coming that they would destroy even a little bit of international standards after lockdowns for more voters. Because we did lots of CSR, and we are constantly in contact with people who are interested in funding social projects. And then obviously we have clients who got help and constant, and then we started, like people like me, we fund concerts for art and give youth a voice and a future. And they are constantly, the politicians try all of them, making this work that they funded, but they don't own. There's not a party, there's non-governmental. Their own for voters. And I'm like, after all this work and this fight back and how much projects politicians cancel for fun, and how you like fight for your client every day, especially against those political party interests. And then they cling on to your successes and your liking and the trust that people have in some of the projects. Even if some are feeling very badly, they still know we've done good work, and they understand the situation in lots of ways. And even if funding stops, yeah, people know how much this is not a job that you do for money. Like there's definitely a faithful cause and a service to humanity. And suddenly seeing that exploited from power, ego, after politics fails in lockdown for voters. Like they show up there, they especially the Green Party, they name it as all them. They don't even fund it. They don't even make it work. They just abuse environmental causes that were once very urgently necessary. And there's now, for me, is established law. I feel good. I'm okay. Especially with the climate change, is more and more important. People understand, and also what the message is definitely also is like it's not against your needs. Like there are other options, which like technical fields. I when I started working, I was like, do I want to look into the environmental technology field, or do I want to do this non-profit things? And I was like, yeah, just because of the city, I decided probably do the non-profit thing, but I always have this environmental technology super close. And just, yeah, that was both necessary because people have other options. If they want to be environmental friendly, they can also use CO2 donations if they feel like it. And it's not mandatory because it is still people's free will. It's a little bit of spiritual decision. It is. And there are global contracts that are ignored, but they are signed for environment protection, so something needs to happen. Uh, so, and it's not the parties who make this work, even though sometimes governments implement new standards for everybody. It is established, for example, Greenpeace. What the amounts of animal protection process that they create, even though they are very activist, is enormous. And they've been already around when I was a kid. So that is certainly not politically. And I feel, I don't know, how do I say this? After them being just a hard stakeholder and somebody who never does know nothing and just lies to you and gives a little bit of money and then wants great success every year with like little resources, but yeah, just outsources to you, and then suddenly those parties trickling onto the social sector because they see that those who are standing, so just like the medical field also, they see that as negatively correlating with their power now. So they take away money and then they fund IVF because they are constantly trying to empower more family because they are concerned about pensions. And I'm like, what's your problem? Teach them how to make a pension insurance, and um, they people have money. What are they living? Like this is not 1950. Teach them how to use the financial sector for gaining more money with money. Like make workshops. That's not even very pricey. They can reuse it. We can make that on demand. Australia has a few on-demand courses for example, nurses, which I think is so cool. There's some of them are free. You can try it. You can see they could make something like that. But no, I don't see this as an unsolvable situation. Also in the lockdown, but people are not trained in making politics work. They are just trained in looking good and talking loud. So I am not only frustrated, I feel like they exploited all of this effort because we had so much backlash for standing for non-profit and non-governmental. When I was in my 20s, I felt like a rebel for talking about environmental change because it was not mainstream. There were just few people eco-friendly and also like Catholic religious people, they are also standing for that. They don't want the big, they don't also need that from the mindset. They don't strive for power with money or like exploitation of resources, because if you have faith, you have a different moral standard, obviously. So it's just disgusting. Those people that fully lost their mind because they have power issues now cling on to successes that have been built with perseverance and lots of breathing by people who earned so little and got so much backlash, donations abused, um, you don't get the trainers that you need, you get so much corruption and backlash for bringing change to NGOs. And there could have been so much implementation of programs that are very successful in other countries. So there is so much wrong with NGO and politics that even in an interview when I was 20 in uni, I did it with one that we were both two students, and we interviewed this person who did lead this NGO at the time. He was like, yeah, I'm honest, guys. I know you're studying and you're trying to get NGO management done and all of that, but it's really not easy. It's exhausting, and there's lots of, like political forces, they don't want you to success because they live from the problem area. And whenever you with your funding bring the success to the people, they don't have anything to fight for, and they all which is left is them in leadership and power positions who don't know what to stand for those voters that they constantly try to reach. It's like the poor, the working class people, the families who are so poor they don't know how to feed their children. I don't know, because I know my clients, I know my database, that those people don't exist. And it's just such a lie. This whole political shit since the lockdown is such a lie in my face every day. And I know all those clients that politics brings to me every day with their, like, some target groups that they don't want in Austria, and they don't get help, funding, or jobs, because that was the thing. Political parties just wanted to employ people from their party, so that's still a mindset that is nasty and terribly destructive in Austria. And yeah, it's just, this is on a level of crazy and lie that I feel ridiculed as a citizen, as well as the manager that I am, and as well as somebody who's very solution-based trained and who constantly was blocked by this bullshit, so that I gave up and I did social media marketing instead. Because yeah, it's easier to talk to them, to reach them so they understand, and then you can help people with in other ways too, like they're great and like when in my 20s we did not have it, but you can buy things now more easily. You can, there is this institute who lets you pay, monthly rates for no or nearly no credit fee. So yeah, like there's also helping people out of difficult situations, and like for really severe causes there is a little bit of help, but people, I know they don't want to go there. And there's nothing that politics lets us shift and change, because they don't want to talk to those people who have enough. They don't want to stand there and lead the country for people who have enough. They constantly make them and belittle those kind of people, make them into these poor people they want to fight for, instead of seeing them as the target groups with needs, that needs implementation of projects also on non-governmental fields, like not just NGOs, but also for business. They should look for companies. They need, if people are studying more in the 90s and 2000s and continue, they will need different jobs, so they would need companies it's for the citizens, but they have not done anything about it, and this will gonna clash so much. But that's not my job. I don't wanna hold get those companies. I just always thought this is so easy and solvable, and then I just learned more about it, and other people in the EU, they were already much further ahead. They had greater ideas and just contributed, and it was an implementation process because yeah, the contracts were kind of signed already at the time. Then the yoga wave also helped in Austria, for example, because yeah, it is very grounding, and there's a nature tribe, and then just little updates, something more fun, technical, like Vinted, for example, is a great tool. People really do lots of secondhand trading with that, which is great. That is local, is a good mindset, and there's so much that came into those times, and it's not icky. Like when I was a kid, I did not want to hear eat more veggies, but I ate enough veggies. Now the approach would be make a nice fruit platter, like talk to the need of the person and encourage them with little incentives. So that's the state of the art of dietology, and it's easy to get to know it because you can ask them, you work with them, and that was not available in the 90s. People did not have the degrees. So we have dietologists, we have medical doctors who also know TCM, for example. I'm somebody who likes those kind of inputs. So I'm happy that this is all established because I know enough how, like, also I love nature, so I like using natural remedies. So this is all already established, and the politics, they constantly live in this world of lack, which as a yogi, I don't, that this lack is creating more lack. So they cannot even manifest that shit. Like just from energy. If you would think about it in a spiritual way. And I'm not triggered in my spirituality. I'm triggered in my heart, my professional heart, because they're so unprofessional, and they're trying to abuse projects that they made way more exhausting than it needed, structurally as well as directly. So it's not easy. If a new startup tries to bring change and they connect to politics, 2 minutes, they just are nice, and then you get an invite, and then you talk a lot, and nothing changes. But people would have needed more help, especially with people funded movements to bring positive change. Also, migration projects that should have worked. There was so much backlash around it. Now it is just like a dirty old riot. Like there are projects that I've loved. They're just shouting at me in the social media and the news. Like also parties, but also NGOs who communicate in a way that just shows how it is escalating between all of the stakeholders. And I'm like, no, goodbye. You go on, fail that on purpose. I see you. Like, I see you. I'm not stupid now just because you wanna be. Like, yeah, I'm that disgusted. I don't wanna live there. I don't wanna see them. Like, I love this country. I like the people, and I'm not gonna move easily in the next year. But like now that my aunt is gone, and this was also very unsatisfactory solved, and it was not at all what we pay for and what I want. I just really wanna not fight against programmed bastards, brutally ignoring intelligence and lifestyle standards. And also, kind of, I don't want to be remembering what I've seen since the lockdowns, how they destructed, especially politics, established social systems that had already been built when I was a kid, and they don't really work right now. Also in the healthcare field, Austria is really failing on a big level, because there is nobody in politics right now who is solution focused. They are all just there to penetrate you further with very old dogmas. There is no change bringing in politics, because they made politics against that since, I don't know, at least 2010. I think since the 90s. They wanted everything traditional, and now they cannot shift that because their main voters, they don't like the change. But this is times that urgently need change. They are stuck now. That is karma for me talking. And I don't want to disturb the karma, and I'm not very afraid for vulnerable people. You know, there's so much effort coming. Also I think Hollywood movies did really help. They really hear us. There's so many great movies around disability and vulnerable groups, as well as women. So I feel like this is a message that don't exploit the vulnerable, that people did really hear. And I'm not so scared. I mean, after Nazis, I felt like, whew, this will be terrible. But actually, I feel like the average citizens, they get the message, and they also understand it's about them too. Like, they are not to be minorized or made vulnerable too. So I don't feel like I want to fight for this country in any way. I don't want to sit there and hate this bullshit that comes from politics and destroys business, destroys healthcare, destroys trust, fights against intelligence because they are not the most clever, and constantly feeds itself off of taxes, but does not generate more wealth. So this will clash. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna insure. I'm gonna invest, and I'm gonna see how much they wanna destroy this country again, just with journalism and politics. So at this time, I'm not gonna build it because I'm too old and I have no nerves to do it again. Because we really built a nation. People like me who did not just invest in my own career path, but in this personal and spiritual decision to show up for the vulnerable, because it is my nature to do so. And then, yeah, they use all of this power to ignore the groups that hear them, and hear them loudly that they are ignoring them, and then think that this is going to work out in the long term, which is the wrongest communication ever. And those people are trained in communication, and they fail in this big way, which just shows that they lost lots of support. And I don't feel like people are just, politically frustrated. I feel like people are out of this kind of solution-based. They are not interested in this kind of regiment, government. There are many ways how democracies work and fail, and ours is definitely failing. Without community, there can be no democracy. But I'm not too concerned, because people are not poor. And there are still established projects and support that has never been governmental. Yeah, that's not enough to be that frustrated for a lifetime. Just gonna make my own money and use my brains for something else that they will not destroy just because nobody likes them anymore. Just they purposefully put their ugliness onto really good projects, and I see it. And I am pissed. I really wanted to say that too. I always feel better after I made this critical video. It's a little bit out of my usual content, honestly. But also, I think it's an important moment, also a good moment after the situation with my aunt in the caring home went so wrong again. And at the same time, they talk about starting project around IVF because they might have voters who might think they are infertile and they want them and push them into just funding the health, and they give out free condoms for all, and everybody's like, what is the problem with like 10 euro condom boxes? What do you think that is the progress that you need? Are you building the nation or just feeding the poor who are not existent? Like, this is so ridiculous. That is a typical negative imprint on the politics in Austria. Like we had in Austria, we had this little dictator in Carinthia who gave social money to people that was other regions. They gave it them. They sent us with the bank to their account. And in my area, the Landeshauptmann, he sat there in every district and gave the money directly to those people. He did feed the poor. And it was supposed to be positive for politics, which it was not. And just as someone who's an expert in so many fields, I feel so cringe. And they don't even start asking for advice. And when I call them, because I see the escalation, also especially in the countryside area, which is far right here, they don't know even what to answer. And they don't bring me a colleague. They just talk to me as if I would be a victim for trying to inform my government, which I cannot do in person, or I'm also not networking because I don't want to work with politics, you know, because I know them. And nobody answers. Just nicely shushing everything away, and I'm not responsible, but I'm in power. Like, what the fuck are those people? What? If they would work in a project, I would be going. If they would not be gone, getting gone, I would be leaving. Because that's not my reputation. I'm not gonna stand for this kind of people. That's sure, you can forget this. This is so 100% not gonna work. Yeah, I made another one. I made another frustrated video when the war was more severe in the. It's also the fifth war since the lockdown. I'm so cringe. Honestly, I just want to do what's good for me and not be closer to those people and tribe that I connect to, which live a very global woke, for sure woke life. And you're not gonna take open minds and geniuses and population with self-respect away just because they don't like you anymore. I'm woke for good. I'm not a daydreamer. I'm an analytical brain walking. If I don't ground it, like I'm constantly writing books in my head. That's how much I know. I'm 40. I've studied. I have the degree, I have the knowledge, and I know my why. And I love learning. And they probably don't. They did it for money. Now they stand there, they need to solve things that they prevented all of their career long. And they cannot do so because they lose all of their voters and their funding. And that's the situation that they don't want to govern. But that's also solvable. But already, like, no, I'm gonna live at the seashore in the UK. I'm gonna go to goddess law ceremonies every seasonal shift. I'm gonna get the newest, coolest clothes because Austria is always late. I'm gonna join great projects that are performing in the UK and certainly not in Austria ever. I'm gonna go to the greatest concerts. I'm gonna go to Glastonbury every year. I'm gonna live on this cute little island, and I'm gonna go, if I'm homesick, to Scotland in winter. I could probably also go there, but I don't want to right now. And then just enjoy a little bit more winter over there. And everybody talks in this beautiful English, because sometimes I don't even want to hear German anymore. And my life works in English all the time, so I feel more connected to those kind of tracks. And honestly, I get more great kitchen. I get fish and chips on every damn corner. I can live at the sea as well as in Middle Europe, because I kind of don't want the absolute heat. But the summers are much warmer in the UK now, so it is Corinthian summer for sure, at least in waves. And I'm good with it. And then I can go into the lake when it's like mildly cold. This is also good for immune system. It's not ice bathing, but it's good for your immune system. I did easily find connected tribe in my summer in the UK when I was a young pupil twice, and I kind of love how polite those people are, and I really love the global international standard as the work crazy person that I am. It's the never stopping analytical brain. It is like, for me, that's better than Disney. There are so many great talks that happen in the UK, great international leadership that lives there. You know, so many great people to hear, to listen, to learn from, to work for, and they bring what the future holds, and not those poor little countries. Like, fuck off. And I love that they have still the king honored, because Austria did even try to steal the stolen Kaiser's jewels again. And I cannot live in this Nazi state anymore. I just cannot. I'm fleeing. I'm gonna go and be done. I'm gonna go. Also, I think the state of the schooling system and university is so much better over there, as well as I think the standard for children is so much nicer, because they were not traditionally leading. Mostly, I feel like from the governmental side, it is constantly a decision about how much to globalize, while all of the population is super connected with all of what's happening in the global world, because London is the ruler of the town for this in Europe. Like, there are short little flights to Sweden. Like, it's not really changing a lot in my life, except that I can connect to the tribe that I like. I really want to do a program. I want to go for solstices to Glastonbury. I wanted to go to Stonehenge before I flew back after the summer in the hotel where I worked with a friend, but we were both so exhausted that we could not go. So I still feel like, yeah, I should have. Maybe I would not have lived here, because I love honoring the earth cycles, and there's not really something happening in here in Austria. It's not, it's not from bygone times, but it's also not very modern. They are not only traditionalists, they are having complications to adapt, and I'm not at all like them. So I felt the most alive in my uni, when we had EU focused studies, because that's where the global brains work, and I can still do that, and I'm just gonna contribute to this EU standard lectures, and then I feel good. Like, that's all that they will get. That's all they deserve. More learnings instead of clinging onto political party to make careers happen, which is so weak. So I'm so disturbed, honestly. And I loved sitting at the seashore. The hotel that were there, just below, a few stairs lower. People love to go there, sitting there, the seagulls. I love the bakery things. I would definitely make my own bread though. Or maybe they have good, like maybe London, just London. There might be good bread somewhere, but I cannot live from toast. That's it. But I could live a weekend without bread now. But when I was a student, my belly was so unhappy without the good corn. There's very nice like dark bread, so good for the belly. It really helps with digestion as well. It is like just daily source of energy boost for the belly, you know. And it tastes so good. I like toast is so mild in flavor. Just I know the Swedish are a little bit like this too. They also have their favorite bread, and if you know, you know. And I'm just gonna make my own bread. I'm gonna that's done in no time. Like I can make enough bread for a month in on a weekend. So and also there's so much for me new to explore. And with my friend, we went on long bus routes at the time because we were students. We were super young, and we both loved sitting there and staring into the nature and just. I want to be connected more to the Grow tribe and to the people that I love and work for and that I learned from. I cannot find that in Austria for sure in the future because people, they will not. There's no base. They live in the past. I don't see people being starving in the future, but they don't have jobs for people like me. That like if you're very educated, this Austria place is failing. And like yeah, no, this is not great. And yeah, I'm not gonna build nothing for them because they exploited projects that we've built with blood and sweat and lots of self-neglect. Like many people like me, not only me. And they were so abusive towards just this environmental and social friendly waves and projects, and they really make them fail in big ways often, especially those politicians, this right-wing politician as well as this left-wing, because they both, it's not neither of them is just illegal prisoner, and neither of them is just their friendly grandma that they want to be included in everybody's life, because it is a hard route coming from a totally different kind. Like I don't want to live in Dubai because I feel a stranger forever in Dubai. It's not what I love to live. I love my roots, I love my country, and I love our way of living. I love our seasonal shifts. I would miss everything about it. But yeah, I feel super connected to the UK. I already know it. There are so many great work opportunities. They're gonna get big investment. I'm gonna see that in the future. And I also love that they did not steal from the crown again. Because my grandparents, they both liked the memory of the monarchy a lot, and that was their safe place even, according to power. They would always lovely look back, and they did not feel that this was exploitation. They felt like this was the strong leader of the nation, and we've never had that, and people fought for it, but it cannot work. And it's so long time ago, and now they start this political wounding coming from the war from many intellectual people, because intellectual people, they were hunted. That the Nazis did not welcome intellect. So to this day, this is a pattern. I think it's crazy. So crazy. And there is no Nazi movement in the UK. And there's a whole island to forever explore. There's so much of history that I've never learned about. There's so much great vacations that I can make. I can live at the seashore, which is so good for your lungs and for your health, actually. It's very good. And then the summers are more warm. And then it's still very quiet and calm, just like Corinthia, if I want to. It's like, yeah. I feel in France is a little different. They are also deeply in crisis state. Italy is too warm for me, and I don't like the northern Italy, but I love Italy. But it's a little bit too warm for me personally. And I don't like Spain at all, especially infrastructure-wise. That's the country that I could probably not leave if I would have ever been born there, but I've not been born there, so I can leave. So, yeah. And I don't like Germans for exactly the same reasons with Austria, even though they make better progress and they will see future coming, but I don't see that for Austria anymore. And yeah. I also love Sweden, but I would never want to live there in winter. I hate the winter. And like the UK, they have no winter. For me, that looks like a very long autumn phase. And a little bit of snow. But just a little bit, tiny bit of snow. And then you can always go on skiing vacation and all. I don't love skiing. I will probably go ice skating in a hall. I can go long walks. I've never lived long at such a seashore. I loved it. I didn't. It was just like living at the lake, basically, but with even better air. And so much music that I love comes from there. That I personally like a lot comes from there. So much great person-led business that I think is so cool is established there, and they are so close still to what I feel is home, because I already lived there as a young person twice. So I think that is very much possible to build an home for the future. Like, just not only go there for 5 years, maybe maybe buy the house that I want to live in my pension phase, and then just have this rooting down momentum. But I felt really after this one summer in the UK, I felt like, well, if I would not have family or whatever, I would have just stayed, because those kind of tribe, they are more close to my heart. My grandma also learned nursing over there after the war. They gave her chances, they educated her, and to this day she speaks great English. And she visited me in the one summer that I lived over there for school. I needed this apprenticeship, and we made it work over there. And it is, I've always found it is very inclusive towards migration, and it's very open about criminal statistics, which I don't see in Austria at all, and which is very triggering for me, because I feel like they escalate the situation with migration a little bit more than they should even think about. So I feel a little bit, like they abuse the nation that our ancestors built for career and influence and money. And there's tears and sweat, you know. It's just so rude to do that. Like, I'm so glad that I don't need to tell my grandpa. He's already in heavens. That's a real deep trigger. And I don't want to help them anymore. Like, I've always struggled, but I've always felt like, yeah, I don't move away too far. Can I, if everybody's leaving, because many people left. It's just so heavy on my heart at the moment. Like, I kinda could work with this fight for a global future in Austria and for less problems for vulnerable groups. But then it was done, and then the politics tried to swallow it because they had no idea how to reach voters anymore. And it's just disgusting that they tried to get our clients to vote while politics was the cause for homelessness for so long. And it's still those politicians that are part of the story, you know. They are not, it's just like with the rapist Trump in power. He should not exploit women's movements. Like Merz in Germany voting publicly against safety of rape in marriages. And now standing there as the ruler of the nation when our mother suffered because of people like him, and trying to make backwards politics work again. For me, it is unthinkable because it is against law. And still, they push forward. Since the lockdown, there's just war and hate, and I'm not having it, and I'm also don't want to be ruled with my money and my taxes by the EU. So the UK wins my heart. Mostly also because I love the area. It looks quite similar than Lower Carinthia. I would not have a big problem with a job. Because yeah, I had a very global university degree, as well as I know already many networks and all. And also I can just start something on my own over there because I don't see a future that they will abuse my work for their reputation ever again, because they have better reputations. But like the most excellent work that we've ever made was from people like me, not only in the social field but also, and they just, because it was the only progress visible and people love the progress and not the backwards, and then they tried to counterbalance that with stolen projects that they normally manipulate. They did manipulate my work. They allow lots of abuse, not only politicians, but also some leaders. And everything I still had to be planned and done. But like other countries, they never did that, so I'm not building it again. I'm old. I'm living in my pension hut at the seashore. Now they don't need to take care of my aunt, and they can decide. My sisters live in Vienna, so there's no family currently that has big roots over there that does not want to go. We have a flat in Vienna, so, and I feel most alive in the hills. I don't love the mountains so much. I've been too long over there. Also, the tribe over here is, I'm not gonna live with Nazis. Also, not in public. Like, I'm not gonna live in a Nazi state. And I'm definitely offended. Yeah, honestly, especially by what they said about our grandparents' generation, and it's so not from the lived truth. And yeah, they are all assholes. I just want to see them fall. I'm not gonna help them with even taxes. That's how much I hate them. And it's certainly not only me. I know it's not only me. I hear it in the interviews. People are. We had such terrible politics in the 90s. It's been so suppressive. Then it got a little bit better. And now they are gonna try this old bullshit again. Because that's their fulfillment. Like, yeah. The young ones, they don't know. But we are too old. We've endured a lot with those states, you know. We are not gonna fight again against things in the system that have already been fought, and there has already been help established. And like, politics is not the holy thing at all. I don't know why I'm saying it, because there's so many. I don't why am I saying this? No. No, so I'm gonna stop because I can rant and complain forever. Also, my foot is hurting, and it's raining now, and I wanted the wind. It's not nice at all. It's not nice at all. Honestly, I'm so frustrated and disappointed. I've not seen it coming with millennials, but they are worse than boomers. Seemingly, they have a hidden shadow persona that waits until they are in the public, and then they make interviews that you cannot watch because it's so cringe. Yeah, and uh, the nature is also quite similar. So I can still continue with my cycle things because I've learned it from the UK, and I can still do my herbology, and there might be even more interested clients over there because it's well established scene. I don't need to found it over there. I'm just gonna do a little bit of Reiki and women's circus on the side. I'm not gonna throw out many big new things because I don't want to give it to them. And then I'm just gonna keep my clients. They come visit me, and they can have a nice Airbnb or whatever, and we can meet them soon. They can come to my WhatsApp groups, but I'm not giving nothing new to them ever again, because that's the only new they've ever seen. From geniuses mind like mine, in all of the fields, like everybody leave. Those assholes. That's a level of stupidness unallowed in the press. That's so ridiculous. Also, all these wars. Like I would found a peace movement if not that already had been done. Just like thinking about all this music and art that went into peace after the war. So what are those assholes wanting? Like, just listen. I need to do my peace meditation again. Actually, I might do that tomorrow. Guys, just pick me up. Just know I need a break. It is everywhere. It's also in my personal life now. And it's just getting worse and worse. And I know it's not the same in other countries. Like, I always had the thought maybe grow old in Austria. Maybe, you know. But that was a stupid thought. I don't know what made me think. It's very bad, honestly, guys. These politicians, they destroyed it all. We said it all, the press said it all, and they did not do nothing for decades in favor of nationalism and family. And now they cannot move because they don't have voters for movement. I'm I'm completely not. No. I'm such a big no. No. Okay, guys, I will be finishing my coffee actually because I've got really chatty, which I assumed. And other people, they stream for like all of the afternoon, so like 2 hours is great. Like, yeah. And I feel productive because I'm gonna let all of this frustration go and the complaint. Live in it, burning it inside, resting higher on the emotional spiral. I'm gonna get food, and then probably I'm gonna make my little bracelet now. My wolf bracelet. I will be filming it, but just shortly. And then I can use it. My little helper in the loneliness of the Alps. We have wolves over there. People go crazy over it. Like, they don't probably discuss framework or solutions. Like, there are wolves. They are victimized by the existence of wild animals now. So, you know, This is the Austrian now. Oh, and dare you not to marry with 20 or not drink beer every day. No, 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 absolutely no. Okay, thanks for listening. See you again. Don't forget, I mentioned earlier in the video lots of good literature, so that's your use of this video. And I said what I said. So here's your book. You know, if you don't drink beer, you're the outsider. So if you want green smoothies, stay close to Vienna. They might stop even offering ones. They never do.